Welcome to Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights, a podcast by coaches for coaches. Our guests share their hard-won wisdom to help you grow your coaching business and create a life of success. So get ready to unlock the blueprints to your success. Welcome, everyone, to our newest episode. I'm thrilled to have you here, and I am excited that we have John Sovec with us, and he is a life coach for adults who have lost their way. So welcome to the show, John. It's lovely to have you.
Thank you. It's so lovely to be chatting with all of you today.
So tell us a little bit about how you became a life coach for adults who have lost their way.
It's one of those things where from a very young age, I was one of those people that people would just come up to me and tell me what was going on in their world and like what they were frustrated with, what they were challenged with. And I'm talking about like 6, 7, 8 years old. Like my friends would be like, I'm really mad at my parents. And so at a very young age, I realized I had this ability to create a space where people could unload, could look at themselves, could speak openly about who they were in the world. A lot of years, I pursued some different paths, ended up in the corporate world for a little while. And after about 4.5 years, and a really quickly ascending path in the corporate world, I looked at what I was doing and I realized that for myself, I didn't want to work this hard for somebody else's dream. And so I did a step back and I left the corporate world. And it was a really interesting thing because I had a brilliant supervisor at that time. And he asked me, he said, is there any amount of money we could offer you to stay? And I said, no. And he said, cool, that tells me what we're working with here. And he helped create a really beautiful exit strategy for me. And then I went out and I really started pursuing this idea of what happens when we get lost. My time in corporate world, I would say, was a little bit of my lost time. Did I work well? Did I work efficiently? Was I succeeding? Was I on an incredibly accelerated path toward success in that field? I was, but I wasn't where my heart wanted to be. And that's where I was lost. And by stepping back and taking some time to sit with myself and to look inside and to get education and to find other people that inspired and mentored me, that I was able to find a space where I got back on my path. And that made me decide that's what I want to do for others.
I love it. I can totally relate to that because it's funny. When I was in corporate, everyone would come into my office to unleash. I think they partially told because he was pretty impartial. The other one is because I didn't always remember what they told me, so they could trust me with it. You didn't last too long in corporate, which is good. I was there for a long time. And what a great supervisor you had. How wonderful is that to help you?
When I was leaving too, and this was a really, really amazing person, corporate structure, there are those few rare little crystalline gems of people who are really passionate and care about what they do. And he was one of them. And as I was exiting, I said, I'm going to tell you this because I want or need from you. I am leaving. I want to tell you how amazing you are and that you're not being recognized here. And if you could, I would so encourage you to look at leaving too. And within 2 years, he actually did leave the company and moved out into an amazing position that offered him and his family a lot of growth and a lot of opportunity and really acknowledged the wonderful skill-based person that he was.
I think sometimes when you're in a corporate position and you're doing very well, it's very difficult to see beyond that, to think, well, I'm successful, but unfulfilled, but still I need to stay here because I'm successful.
It's that phrase, that golden handcuff phrase. And until you actually get under it, you don't recognize that it's a very real thing. The idea that so many of our meters of success in the world are based on our monetary gain, our ascension, our success, and that when all of those things are quote unquote in place, then it should be fine. So anything that I'm feeling inside that's a little bit disturbed or feels a little bit off center, that's just me, going through something. It's not actually sitting back and looking at how constraining these golden handcuffs are, how constraining some of these high salaries can be, and allowing us to actually be the person we're meant to be in this world.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree. So let's talk a little bit about your clients. So do you work mostly with men or women or both or of a certain age?
So what I find is my sweet spot in working with clients is those people who reach kind of that 40 to 50-year-old range where they're finding they've done well, they're doing, the things they're supposed to do. They've reached kind of a pinnacle moment in their companies. There may not be more ahead for them as far as, promotions within their company, but they know that they haven't arrived where they want to arrive. And so what we do is we sit back and we look at the path they've taken to get where they are, the skills they've already built to create that space that they're at, and what they could do with that if they took that out either into another industry, another passion, or something for themselves.
Do you do mostly one-on-one coaching or do you do group coaching? How does that work?
I am a big proponent in the one-on-one model. Interestingly enough, I've done a lot of group work and a lot of group training over the course of my work. And what I find is a beautiful model, and I love doing that. But what often happens when we go to a group training is we get caught up in the momentum of the moment. We sometimes get caught up in the momentum of the speaker. You know what it's like. You've probably experienced, you go to one of those things, you hear an amazing speaker and you are ready to change your life today. And then you wake up tomorrow And some of that energy starts to fade off a little bit. And you look in your notebook and the notes you took, and about a third of them make sense to you anymore. And so I'm going to implement one of those and start, taking my morning pages. And then the next day you wake up and suddenly it all makes less sense. And that energy dissipates really quickly. What I find really successful in the one-on-one model is that sense of accountability and that sense of personalization of the work. I'm talking with you. I'm hearing your story. I'm not giving you just a generic approach to success. I'm saying, let's look at what your strengths are, what your challenges are, and let's work with those to find your own unique path.
I've seen both types of coaching work, but it kind of depends on what type of coaching you're doing. Yours is very personal. So it makes total sense to be doing that one-on-one. If you can, do you want to share maybe a favorite or an exceptional story about maybe one of your clients who came into your program and then transformation they had?
Mm-hmm. So I actually had a really beautiful recent case with a client who was working within the legal system. Since we're going to be confidential with their name here, I'll just say that they were a judge. They were doing very well in their world, and they were in one of those pinnacle positions where people look at, oh, you're a judge, you must be very successful. What a great place to be. But what was starting to happen is while they were in the middle of doing their work, they started noticing that they were checking out, that they weren't paying attention as much as they used to. And that when they get back to their office after a day in court, they immediately go online and start doing massive online shopping. And they were realizing that these weren't things of a happy person. And so we started working together and we really unthreaded this whole storyline of what it meant for them to become a judge and what it meant in their family story and their family history. And everything that they were getting told by their family was, you're ace number one now because you've done this great thing. So when we were able to step back from that family story a bit, we started looking at, well, what are the skills that you have naturally as a judge? What are the things that you could do that you could apply anywhere if you wanted to? And so we took that skill set and started looking out in the world. And they started noticing, well, I don't want to actually work for a big company again. I don't want to be under somebody else's auspices. I've been that for a lot of my life and I want to find my own thing. So what they did is they actually started working with the mediation company, which is a really natural inclination for a judge to do. Take that natural skill set. And after working with that company for about a year, they then went off and started creating their own, specializing in some of the work that they had done as a judge. And all of a sudden, all of those connections allowed them to be more personal in their work. And they found a fulfillment that they are incredibly happy with the business they're building now.
It illustrates you don't have to completely change everything that you're doing. If part of what you're doing works or feels good and feels like it's landing properly, there may be something that you can just kind of pivot to.
Well, and I want to address something. It's a little bit of a controversial statement, but I'm going to put it out there for y'all. Is we have all been taught this kind of big Oprah Winfrey aha moment, or we're supposed to take an eat, pray, love journey around the world and find our truth. And what happens in those big aha moments is not all of us have them. And if we don't, we might feel like we're less than, or we're not digging deep enough, or not working hard enough. And when my approach is, if we make small incremental changes every single day, that's going to stack up. That's going to turn into something, and it's going to turn into something solid. It's about building a foundation versus just saying, aha, I had the answer to nuclear fusion, and then trying to build it. Instead, it's like, no, I'm going to take little baby steps every day, and I'm going to show up for myself. And that's where the change, the long lasting change, is going to happen.
Yeah. And I think that's where coaches come in too, because sometimes it's very difficult to do that on your own, to just make small changes because you feel like, well, it's just a small change. What's the big deal? Because sometimes you can't see the end and what's going to be happening.
And that's one of the really exciting moments as a coach is when I get to reflect back to them. You realize you've been doing this thing for 3 months. That's amazing. And you see what's starting to happen? Because oftentimes we're only making small change. We miss it along the way. We don't see it. It's kind of like, I'm a gardener. I've got tons of tomatoes in right now. And when you first put the tomatoes in, the plants like sit there for a week or two and like, yeah, whatever, fine. The soil's great, whatever. And then they start growing and they grow a lot. But then there are no tomatoes on them for a long time. They're just like, it's grown. And then the flowers come out. And then like a third of them set and start becoming tomatoes. By letting all of those stages of growth happen, by right now, I have these beautiful, juicy summer tomatoes that I can just bring into the house and have for dinner. But if I had given up when they were those small little baby seedlings, I wouldn't have anything.
You were talking about clues and how the judge had been noticing clues. Are there things other than that, other than just checking out, that people might notice in their environment in their life that might give them some hints that they might need to pivot or go in a different direction?
One of the things that I like to lead to, I'm also a yoga teacher, is looking at the Ayurvedic approaches to life. And one of the things we understand is that we all have different energy levels throughout the day. And that's going to tell us when we're most productive and how we can work with that energy. The same thing is true with how we interact with the world around us. If I go to work and I feel energized and enlightened on a good majority of days, and I'm saying at least 75% of your days, I'm going to give you 25% to have crappy days. You can have those, okay? But if 75% of your days, your energy feels lifted, you feel engaged, you feel like you're accomplishing things that have meaning to you, then you're probably where you want to be. But if you're looking at that and you find there's a deep level exhaustion that shows up, that on the way to work, you're suddenly like already tired, the first phone calls come in and you just want to check out for the day, this is information. And we need to listen to our bodies. They give us a lot of information that can help us understand when we're in the right energy and when we're in challenging energy.
I remember that. I was working in corporate and I remember Sundays were just sad days. You know what I mean? There was just like, oh, after today's over, I got to go back.
And I want to share with people that sad day energy, that Monday blues thing, we've made it into a part of our social construct. We made it into a part of our conversation. We're supposed to have the Monday blues. Well, why should that be true? Why does it have to be true? My Mondays are kind of fun. I teach a 9 a.m. yoga class, and I love teaching my 9 a.m. yoga class. Go home, eat lunch, and then I start working with clients. And one of the things that's so beautiful for me is I have this technique that I use for myself is like, I wonder what's going to happen in this session. So I approach it with this like really powerful curiosity to be present with my clients. And that makes it exciting and it makes it interesting. And that is a possibility that all of us can experience, whether we're in a 9 to 5 job, whether we're running our own businesses, whether we're running a home. All of those things can exist if we choose to pay attention to them.
Yeah, it's almost like a child, isn't it? Like they have the energy and they have the wonder. I remember I couldn't wait to get up in the morning and go ride my bike or go out and play. And, we needed to bottle that up and sell it, sell it back to me. Right. I love that you talked about a family story too, because I think a lot of us, when we get to our 40s and 50s, start to recognize that sometimes we're not in the right place. We're in the place that we were expected to be, for years. So it's a really important recognition, I guess. If somebody were to have that, what would you say kind of would be one step toward figuring out what they wanted to do or what their strengths were, or where they want to be?
So to begin with, I think it's important to go back and actually look at what were the family stories you were told. Let's just start there, because we get everything we learn as a human being in our younger years is told to us. We arrive as a blank slate, and then we're molded by the people around us, by our community, by our parents, by our friends, our coaches, our families, our religious and spiritual communities, the community we live in, our cultural community. All of those things are going to tell us stories of who we are supposed to be. And oftentimes, once again, in that 30s, 40s, 50s things, we start to shake under the armor of that, under the tightness of that. And that little shaking is a message from your body that maybe change needs to happen. But I'll tell you a really interesting clue is how you can tell when someone is starting to discover what might be the next best thing for them is simply watch how they talk about things. So if I talk to you about like, oh, I've got my taxes and, I've got a great tax guy, but I've got to get my stuff going, and my body starts to drop and my voice starts to drone and my energy starts to go internal, that's not my favorite place to be. And it's true. I'm not the monetary thing, managing that. I have good people who do that for me because it's not my specialty. But like you heard me talk about my garden earlier, and I was like up and robust and my energy was excited and my smile was on my face because I was talking about my tomatoes. That's a clue. That's information. And it is often as simple as that. Noticing the energy when you talk about the things in your world. And you'll start to hear, or you can even ask your friends or your partner, can you listen carefully? And when I talk excitedly about something, can you raise a hand and say, John, you were just really excited about that thing? And I can be like, I was. And then I can start getting information. And that it's in our bodies, it's in our souls, what we really, really are craving.
I know people will say that to me sometimes, like, wow, you really lit up about that topic. It's like, oh, because I love it. It's so much fun.
And the number of times, though, in our self-reflection, we may miss that unless we're invited to pay attention to it, or we ask our close friends around us to help us discover that.
And then I like to think too, I've just started implementing this in my own life, is do something really fun that you enjoy. Like your gardening is for you. For me, it's Legos or coloring like a little kid. I don't know, it just makes me feel good. It relaxes me. It's simple. And sometimes, especially I think as an entrepreneur, sometimes you don't want to let yourself do that because it's like, no, there's work to be done.
And yet there's so much information in that childlike behavior. And oftentimes people may like, oh, playing with Legos, that's such a kid thing. It's like, yes, it is. Thank you. I think childlike is something we need to encourage more in all of us as we start adulting in the world. Not childish. I don't want childish behavior, but childlike wonder, childlike curiosity, childlike energy or excitement about something. back to my garden again. After the fires, we had an area in the back that had gotten burned down. I'm out in Pasadena. And so we've had the fires that have affected our community. And part of our backyard did burn during the fires. And I got out there pretty quickly after the fire and bought like a 5,000 thing of California poppy seeds. And I just spread them out there because I wanted to get something in the ground. Well, for who knows what reason, it looked like none of them took. And I was so sad and so upset. And then one day I looked out and there was one poppy that had grown up and had started blooming. And I was so excited about that one poppy. Yes, the 4,999 other seeds may not have taken, but that one poppy grew and I was so excited about it.
I also loved when you said we need to wake up now more often than not with wonder. I wonder what's going to happen today. Because I think it's such a weird dynamic, and at least in my head, that it's always the negative. What did I do wrong? What did I forget? What's not done? What's on my to-do list? Where am I supposed to be? And I think sometimes to just let that down and go, you know what, I'm right where I need to be. And today is full of possibilities. I could meet someone amazing like you and have a great conversation. I love that you're putting that out into the world. And I hope everyone listening can take that.
The other thing, when you were mentioning about our to-do list, there's a big concept I work with a lot of my clients on. Everyone talks about being controlled by their to-do list. Oh, I've got this long list of things I'm supposed to be doing today. But I point out to them, you do realize that you're actually the one who made that list. So you actually have the ability to change, to alter that list as feels right for you. That you may put all those blue dots on your phone calendar, but it doesn't mean you have to take them in the order they are because you're the one who put them there. So why not say, I control my schedule rather than my schedule controls me? And that gives you the ability to really start to organize your life, to look at things in ways that will be most productive for you.
I was listening to a video about time management because I'm always fascinated hearing people's concepts on time management. And she recommended that you figure out how long things take you because we tend to, I know there's a saying, we tend to overestimate what we can get done in a day and underestimate what we can get done in a year. I think I said that kind of right. Mm-hmm. So, being realistic instead of making this huge to-do list that you're never ever going to get through and then feeling bad at the end of the day because you couldn't get through it. Maybe we should make it realistic.
And going back to this idea of feeling bad about a self-imposed limit that you put on yourself, you created that to-do list. So I think it's important because every day what we're able to accomplish is going to be different. There's a beautiful thing, the 4 agreements, and in there, one of them is do your best, knowing that your best will change from day to day. So my best today may be answering emails. I may be in a really focused, I can respond to emails, I can do all of this. Tomorrow, I may be in I need to record content phase and I can record and I feel really bubbly and ready to be on camera and do my thing. The next day, I may be an introverted phase where I just need to kind of go inside, take some time for myself, maybe do a little reading, maybe let somebody else inspire me that day, but that I have the ability to control that schedule and work it with my personal energy.
Yep. You got to keep reminding me that you are in control of that to-do list. You wrote that to-do list. I also love, though, how you illustrated. I think sometimes we try to be overly structured. Every morning I'm going to do this. Every day at 10 o'clock, I'm going to do that. Every day. And that's not, like you said, that's not how your energy flows. And if you stick with it and can recognize when your creative times are, or, this isn't it, I need to move it somewhere else and let's pick something else to do, that could be really valuable.
And for each individual, they're going to find the type of program that works for them. So mine is a very intuitive approach. It's about us pointing things out, creating pathways for you to walk on, and then start finding some focus and listening to your energy and being intuitive. For other people, the path that's going to work for them are these very structured paths. You're going to wake up every morning, you're going to drink your lemon water, you're going to do your journaling, you're going to get your exercise, and then you're going to, do your thing towards business. All of these paths are valuable. What's important is to find the one that works for you. Because my intuitive, let's find your strengths and challenges approach is not going to work for everybody. And I do not want to pretend it is. And the same idea, the structured approach, the ultra structured approach isn't going to work for everybody either. So anyone who's joining us today, I would love to work with you. But if what I'm selling you is not the right thing for you, then find the coach, find the person, the support, the program that's going to work best for you. Because I'm not for everybody, and that's okay.
That is okay. None of us are for everybody. So that's great. So that leads me right into remind everyone who your ideal client is, and then we'll tell people how they can find you.
So my ideal client is you sitting at home right now. You're kind of in that 40 to 50 phase. You found some success at work, but all of a sudden you're realizing this is not it. this is not it. And I want to find something different. I want to find me again. I want to find what I'm passionate about again. And that's where you want to reach out to me. And we're going to work together in a one-on-one program and try and find that path for you. Best ways are to go to my website, which is johnsovec.com, johnsovec.com. You can also find me on Instagram at John Sovec Therapy. And these are all great places to be able to reach out to me, to connect, and to see if we're a good match.
You're so fun to talk to, John. This is so exciting. I can feel your energy and your joy for what you do. So last question for you is, if you could provide one tip to make the world a better place, what would that be?
So before we went on to our recording, we had talked about this question, and there was a really thing about recognizing our fear. But there's a piece of the puzzle that's really important to me right now that I think is even more vital than that. And that is for each of us to once again learn to listen, to learn to listen to the people that we love and love us, to listen to the people that we may not have full agreement with, to be able to listen, to learn and understand what it is we don't understand, so that we can all start to reconnect and build a more beautiful and powerful world together.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And John, thank you for sharing all that you do. We are grateful for coaches out there like you, helping people who need the help. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today on Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights. We hope you're leaving this episode with inspiration to take your coaching business and your life to the next level. If you found value in this episode, we would love it if you would subscribe and share it with someone else who you think might benefit from hearing it. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next episode.